Okay, it's 4:10, and I think C is also ready. So I think other people will be joining us and shortly. So I welcome you all to this Meetup 50, which is Local Idea Global Thing. And which is organized by eSatya. So I'll be the host of the session. I'm Prisha Sherpa, community coordinator at eSatya. And if you don't know about eSatya and it's your first time hearing about eSatya or joining our meetup for the first time, let me tell you, eSatya hosts a different kind of meetup every month. So if you want to explore about the trending topic and you want to learn more about blockchain or any other kind of things related to Web3, then you can join us. Our eSatya. And also, if you want to know more about blockchain and trying to explore about blockchain. We also do have kind of intensive course over 3 months where we do blockchain fellowship kind of session. So you can also apply for that as well. So without further ado, I will call today's speaker, our speaker, Mr. C. Ansui, which is the founder of AISA, an international AI expert. So without any delay, I would like to call C and hand over the mic to C.
Hi, everybody. Great to be back in the East Satya world and back in Nepal as well. Presently, I'm looking out to Fiwa Lake at Pokhara Lakeside. Absolutely stunning and inspiring from which to work. I've got a presentation today touching a lot of topics related to AI, starting with the history of it and some opportunities that might come out from it, and also how local communities can deploy global tech. Screen is up.
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to read from my notes at the same time. Okay, so first, a little bit about myself. I'm multinational, New Zealander, Canadian, British, Singapore, and I've done a lot of things in my life. I've been on computers for over 40 years, on the internet for over 30. And generally, I feel like I'm an early adopter. But I've do too many things in my life without having focused on anything. I needed a better way to juggle them all and focus all my attention and resources on one thing that could benefit all of them. And so I decided about a year ago to build what became the AI Super Agency, or AISA, or ASET. I'm a senior web developer of 25 plus years with extensive background in arts, sports, events. Um, Together, Isatya and myself have hosted several events and interesting collaborations, including one of the first Web3 meetups in Nepal a few years back at Hotel Acme Inn in Kathmandu. It's a very exciting time. And we also collaborated together on robots and animals, just sort of a fusion of arts and tech that we hosted in Kathmandu from November 22nd to 26th, 2 years ago. And Isatya kindly hosted the blockchain and tech talks at Hotel Acme on the Friday of the festival. Before we get into the present and the future, I think we've got to step back to the history of AI and to demonstrate that it isn't new. It began 80, 90 years ago, most famously in the 1950s with Turing's question, can machines think? And the test was, if a machine could convince a human that it was human, then it passed the test. And that was a long time ago, and computers have gone through many iterations and evolutions to where we are now, deep into the internet era. From early expert systems to deep learning breakthroughs, every wave followed hype to disillusionment to productivity. And what's different now is accessibility. AI is finally in everyone's hands. A little bit on the terminology of each of these factors of AI. Machine learning found patterns in numbers. Large language models, LLMs, find meaning in words. The 2017 transformer changed everything, and now the interface isn't code, it's conversation. If you can describe it, you can build it. The hype curve. This is something that every year, maybe a few times a year, I refer to, and almost all technological revolutions have followed akin to this curve. And AI worldwide now is, at least the public mainstream AI, say generative AI, text to image, text to video, is now past the hype. Worldwide, this really exploded a few years back with ChatGPT becoming mainstream and the fact that people could create images and video using a prompt. And as with everything, after the hype, people get tired of it. That's the disillusionment. And then we don't really hear anything about it because there's some shiny new thing that hits the news. And then the stronger technology will rebound. And after the trial or the trough of disillusionment, there's the slope of enlightenment, which is a lot longer and gradual, steady climb back up. Even the internet was sort of followed this as well. And I've heard a few professionals around the world compare the internet boom of the late 90s and early 2000s to the AI boom. And it's similar in the way that the internet had all this hype and there was so many naysayers saying it'll never last or it's a scam or people were just tired of hearing of the potential of it and then seeing it was mostly overinflated domains and a bubble that burst and cost a lot of people their homes and their livelihoods. But the internet, as we know, has endured today and continued to get stronger. And AI seems to follow a similar path. People might get sick of it, but we're tired of hearing about it. But it's not going away. It's in fact becoming ever more pervasive and everyday life for many of us. But I'd like people to look at this chart too, and this is just a side note as well. And the reason that I look at this chart is by the time most of us hear about a technology, it's because it's already mainstream. It's already in the news. People have tried it. People get inspired. So there's many AI developers and designers, and everyone's using it, and that's part of the hype of it. But if you look further to the left, you'll see the other technologies that are climbing up the ladder, and these are ones that are pre-hype that in the years to come are going to become hype and popular and eventually we'll be tired of them as well. And so my tip from this is maybe explore a little deeper into these technologies on the way up. Maybe you find something that you're interested or intrigued by or maybe passionate about and look a little deeper into these truly emerging technologies. Because if you can start looking at it now, by the time it hits that top of the hype circle or cycle, you'll already be well established and you'll have some knowledge, you'll have some authority or expertise in it, which leads to greater global opportunities. And maybe quantum AI, if I looked at this list myself, multi-agent systems I've heard about for a while. So to me, it's a bit higher up the list. I think that's something quite interesting. AI simulation, we're starting to get deep into. And quantum AI, what will be the impact of quantum computing on artificial intelligence and society? I think that's really worth a look. And then when we see what this technology that's coming, I think it gives us a clearer picture of maybe what will be the world to come. And maybe we can position ourselves in it for our own safety, but also to be able to make the most of those opportunities that come up. So yeah, look at the innovation trigger. And if you look even deeper than that, I guarantee there are thousands of technologies you've never heard about it and couldn't even believe that are coming out soon as well. So what about opportunities for Nepal in the AI era? So there's an excellent example of Security POW, which is a Kathmandu-based, I guess, are they a startup still? They reached a $105 million valuation, helping OpenAI and Figma manage compliance. And this is proof that global value can be built locally. So imagine similar success stories across education, tourism, agriculture, and health. Local data means local power. An AI that understands Nepali language and culture can transform livelihoods. It also should inspire maybe youth that if you come up with an idea, you see a problem that can be solved, whether it's on a local, a community, a social, or even a global scale. that the technology is there to be able to dive deeper into it and to be able to prototype solutions. And maybe you could be the next security pal. Creating local value from global tech. I would say instead of being a consumer of media, we can be creators of media. And we found that through social media. Instead of people just watching TV and films and listening to music, the rise of technology and computers and mobile devices over the past decade or so has allowed everyone to become a content creator. And I think we can apply that as well to don't just consume AI, teach it your story, tell it about you. And for things like LLMs, which most of what we know, say ChatGPT and Gemini and all these are overseas. These are generally American corporations or with DeepSeek, say a Chinese company, and their language models, their machine learning are coming from the perspective of these nations and these corporations. And as we've discovered over the last few years, those who have control of the data sets can also inject bias and opinion and ads. And who knows better about Nepali culture, customs, language, history than Nepali themselves? And so supporting local language model projects that are based in Nepal, I've heard of one or two, and there could be more as well, I think will really empower the nation as more projects, more initiatives, and more solutions are developed upon it. Um, I'm going to talk a little bit now about what I've been setting up and why I think it's important, why I'm building the super agency as something that I feel can help practically everybody. Uh, I started the idea about a year ago at sort of a crossroads in my life and realizing I needed to focus on one thing. I have all these interests and I was tired of my development career and sort of it was during monsoon in Goa where I've been living the last 5 years or so. And I know I needed a change in my life. I was tired of development. I wanted to work on more creative pursuits, but I needed a little more stability in my life. And I really felt I needed to leverage my decades of experience in computing and internet and at least be able to unretire from programming for one more thing. And the idea of a super agency came about uh, with the maturation of AI tools, and I realized I didn't have to do everything myself anymore. I didn't have to think about everything. I didn't have to develop everything, design everything, plan everything, market everything. AI has become mature enough that we have our help now. We could create a world-class team based on various AI tools. And so such was the AI super agency that I first pitched at an AI idea competition at DevCon 7 in Bangkok last November. And sort of the problem statement that, and I'm sure many of you listening now, you're probably solo founders or small teams, and we're underestimated when we try to play the game, especially when it comes to fundraising or grabbing attention or what our resources and capabilities might be. And the reality, there's so many tools out there. There are so many tools. Every day I'm hearing about literally dozens of new tools in different areas and a lot of reinventing the wheel. And this one's popular, and we're going to try this, and this is a free trial. There's so many tools, yet so many of them are siloed. They're like, you've got to sign up independently, you've got to log on to them, and now you've got this app, and there's dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens, and they don't really work together, and it can get costly, it can get confusing. And to begin with, you've got limited time, maybe not really resources to develop the ultimate ambitions of what we have or what we see, and we might not have all the skill set. And then if you wanted to hire an agency, a traditional agency for this, they can be expensive, they can be fragmented. There's a lot of politics in agencies. There's a lot of they can be slow, and then privacy and trust are often an afterthought with these platforms too. We've seen data leaks from ChatGPT and all the big data platforms at some point. And then we don't have maybe the most trust for these platforms, but we don't really have a lot of alternatives to consider as well. And then if you've tried fundraising before, if you've looked for grants, if you try to raise money for investors, it's hard. Access to funding and visibility is harder than ever in an oversaturated, noisy market. And this is where we come back to the hype curve. If everyone's pitching AI tools that generally are a wrapper that do the same thing, there's no one like serious investors aren't so interested in that, especially if there's no traction, it's not uh, solving real world problems or has real world users. So our insight, we heard Sam Altman say, we're going to see 10-person companies with billion-dollar valuations soon, and there's a betting pool for the first one-person billion-dollar company. And I thought with what's available through the power of these AI tools is like um, maybe not myself personally because I don't have those sort of aspirations. That doesn't really drive me. But I thought we could make a platform that empowers solo founders and small teams to maybe be candidates to be, if they desire, a one person or a small team billion-dollar company. And we also wanted to create something that isn't siloed, that you have access to all these tools. So our solution is the AI super agency. And it starts with a question. We start with what we call intake. An inspiring interview that asks you, what would you like to do? And whether you have an idea, but you're not sure what you want to do. You want to start something, you want to grow your project, you have an established company and you need help with something higher. There's this inspiring interview that finds out your objectives and what you want, and and that it presents a plan and a strategy that you can act on immediately. And then we've built, or starting to build, and we're prototype some of them, all the tools along the way to be able to help the founder journey uh, craft their idea from a brainstorm or a sliver of imagination into a real tangible solution that's got users and technology and then support if they need. Um, and so we're working on something codenamed LLM Webmaster, which is a text to website where just like you're having, say, a text chat with your web developer, instead of saying, I need the about page created with an image on the left, and I want to change the text, and I want to have a link to this, in that same amount of effort that you're telling your web developer, who might not be online, or they might be not working over the weekend, or they might just be slow, or they might disappear, your text to website is going to create that page and make those updates instantly. We're not the first one and we're not the only one that's doing that. But the difference with us is our tools so interact together. So with one logon, you can do all of this. We're building a simulation as a city, or as a service platform called AI City Sim that I'm going to get into next. But then you can test your product market idea through, and then whatever help that you need, whether it's finding grants, being connected with investors and VCs, legal helper. Like you have an idea, you have whether it's messaging or a product concept, or say especially something related to Web3 or AI or one of these so-called more risky uh, industries. The legal helper will be able to tell you right away, oh, in our jurisdiction, that could be an issue, and then give options to either work around it or work within the law to understand the law and to advise you to say that maybe that's not such a good idea, but maybe consider this. And then I'm not so familiar with Nepal's tax regime, but having a localized tax angel that's able to take out all the stress and the bottlenecks around that, and in fact be able to empower that your funds that are used for yourself and for your company and your expenses and everything can actually be turned into a positive for you. And I think through that, through my own experiences, it's a better understanding of the tax system and seeing how it works for us instead of being resistant to it. And so our tax engine helps. Lead generation is the most requested tool, maybe on top of web page building. But I would like, we're going to do it in an ethical way, a non-spammy way, a non-scammy way. And we've got solutions to be able to do that I haven't seen anyone else do that as well. And then also being able to test in front of real world users, because at the end of the day, that's who we're targeting. That's who we're trying to help. And then being able to launch and iterate and be able to go through all these. And then if you're an idea person like me, this means that you can run multiple concurrent projects at a very high level uh, in a much more easier and streamlined and cost-effective way than you would perhaps do manually, or how I've been doing it manually in the past. And so the first MVP I built, the first AI tool, was this board one, where you submit your idea to a panel of virtual investors and they get really useful feedback on your idea and offer constructive feedback on where things need to be improved. Usually, if you're a small team, it's telling us we need to strengthen our team. And if you enter a dodgy business idea, it's hilarious, where it created our daily viral pitch of the day. It's a really fun app, and this is going to be our first app that we're with our new team, our new company incorporated in Singapore, will be our warm-up exercise to bring this to market. But board one is strategic as well because it fits in to our AI city sim vision, where I see a lot of good coming out of this in a lot of different ways. And so, as you can see, board one, this is where we're at. I wanted to simulate a room of 10 people and 10 people's feedback, but we're working towards creating a city of up to 1 million, mostly AI citizens, but a lot of humans earning micropayments still in the loop and progressing along the way, starting with Hamlet 1, which is a population of 100, through a village and spaces like halls, arenas, and stadiums. And then what's useful about this is, so after you get your idea and you have your prototype of your product or your social policy or your economic vision for the world, such as being able to test universal basic income, you can spin up a population, whatever size and whatever demographics you like or that you need, and then you run questions through it and the city simulates it, where after that you get a dashboard of maybe 60% of people preferred the green version over the brown version, or message one over message two, or you can see how various economic policies could be reacted by a population, but also the behavior of it, of how people actually spend when you change things within the economy. And in places where tokens are legal and allowed, you could test tokenomics safely and spot the problems in them as well. And so this is already of interest to investors for sure, researchers, and people that are in the process of building virtual, not even virtual, but new towns and villages. They've inquired about using this as well. And I've got a really interesting idea about using a swarm of a population, say 100,000 to a million, mostly AI citizens, as sort of like a brain power or a think tank. And so we're going to be proposing AI City Sim as sort of a step towards AGI, of collective intelligence in action. And I'm hoping that anyone, if you're a startup, you don't need maybe a million people right away, but you could spin up a village of 1,000 people and see what they think about your idea. So this is our flagship. We're going to develop it much more strongly next year, but we're very methodical at the moment. First is build this super agency, because once this is set up, this can help literally nearly everybody. You have a pain point, we want to solve it. And we're looking to take the idea through Africa Roadshow, maybe as soon as next year, where we travel up through Southern Africa, listen to people, hear their local problems, and then help them uncover local solutions that they can come up with and they can maintain themselves, and show that super agency, whether you're a business or an individual or an artist or a local community, there's a way to be able to, if we can't help you ourselves, we can help point you in the right direction. And through that, we believe that we can help nearly everybody. Phase two is AI City Sim. And phase three is a spin-out factory, which sort of means you develop an idea, you build it up as well as you can, and then you spin it out. And so that is what we're working on diligently every day the next few years. And so this sort of leads into I'm very interested in decentralized tech, as I'm sure a lot of you are here as well. And then we start hearing, what is decentralized AI, where Web3 meets intelligence, and where decentralized tech can help solve a lot of these issues of these siloed companies or these big data companies that have all this data and this intimate data and are planning data and strategy, and there are leaks, there are privacy concerns as well. Centralized AI keeps power in a few hands, whereas decentralized AI distributes it. Blockchain gives trust. Platforms and ecosystems like IPFS and Filecoin store data. Zero knowledge proofs protect privacy. DAOs manage governance. And so maybe picture a Nepali owned AI cloud powered by local hydropower and governed by its people. And to me, this is the real opportunity for Nepal. So, and I respect the Nepali government. I know it can be quite strict on things like cryptocurrency, but I believe that might be quite a wise move on things like crypto and NFTs and these stores of what some people would say is imaginary value, and things like meme coins that the founders or the creators of it earn great profits, but at the sake of most of the people underneath it as well. And as a safety mechanism, it is rightful to be cautious about this technology. And, and unfortunately, it gives Web3 and blockchain a bad name because in the news a lot are these scams and these leaks and these hacks. So what I would propose to Nepal is okay, as Bhutan has enriched its population through renewable energy, Bitcoin mining, and cryptocurrency mining, could Nepal attain the same by setting up hydropower AI servers that are in huge energy demand at the moment? I've seen, unfortunately, in places like New York and I think in the UK as well, that they're firing up decommissioned nuclear power plants just to power AI. And ChatGPT is firing up this nuclear power plant that was decommissioned for safety reasons, just so that it can power ChatGPT. And we have to think of the ethical implications of that too, and potential nuclear meltdowns. Is that worth the cost of this technology? And hydropower would be a safer, a renewable way of being able to power the massive data that's needed, not only for AI chips and technology now, but for what's coming and with the very unique conditions that must exist for quantum computing and then future quantum AI as well. So if anyone that is at all interested or networked or resourced enough, or anyone from the government listening as well, this could be one way for Nepal to harness its vast natural resources and being able to tap into a huge worldwide demand for AI computing power, especially in South Asia and in Southeast Asia and the neighbors around, and then being able to share the revenues and the success of this throughout the entire populace of Nepal. So, tips and tricks. So, I hear a lot of people all over the world say that they don't really like AI. It doesn't really, they don't think it's that great. And then I hear that they're really only using it as maybe a Google alternative, like a search engine. And or it's say they're having a deep and meaningful conversation with ChatGPT about their relationship issues and they're liking that to a point. But remember, ChatGPT is not the most private platform as well. So I've got a few tips and tricks. First, on sort of on the prompting level for productivity, and then for developers and coders, and and seeing it that I feel that AI is a collaboration. I feel that ChatGPT Plus at the moment is my super agency. And because I feel that I'm proficient at prompting and know how to get the most out of the collaboration, I feel that it's exponentially aided my success and my progress with everything that I'm working on. And so if you're stuck on maybe you're not getting the results you want, you're not making the progress that you want, or you hit a dead end, consider when you're trying to create something and you have an idea in mind, why not have your LLM interview you? So, for example, you could have a prompt that says, um, "This is what describe what you're thinking that you want to do, whatever it is." And then prompt, please interview me until you have enough context or until you have everything you need to know before you're able to create the output that I'm looking for. And then with that, at least what I've seen over the years of doing this as well, I get 10 plus really deep, excellent questions. And then that to me is the time spent on ChatGPT and LLMs as well, is okay, well, these are good questions. They're questions I hadn't thought about. I open it in a separate text file, and then I answer the questions deeply and thoroughly as well as I can. Um, there's some questions that I don't know the answer to. There's some answers that I don't care about the answer to because that's the help that I need from. But I make that explicit as well. So I don't need the answer. I write that. If I need help with that, I write that. And then by really being able to answer like you would in a media interview, a journalist interview, uh, you paste the response right back into that thread. And then you get the output that you want, whether it's an article or, um, or anything like that, any kind of
Oh
output
yeah,
you
I
can think
think
of.
I know that answer.
So
So
consider having the GPT interview me. And then if you want to go another level, so you're not everyone sounding like Chat GPT, which you notice all over LinkedIn, a lot of posts, you can tell with the M dashes what's Chat GPT. I start with what it's given me. And then because I'm a writer, a long time, I've published a few books. I will sort of knock it back into my style a little bit and make some edits and double check that things are accurate and that because if I'm posting it as me, it's got to be accurate for what I'm saying. You can't just rely on it saying what you want it to do. So you can also, though, if you need help with that, you're not so writing proficient, you could then prompt the next one, write the article or plan or strategy in my tone. And generally, you'll get 5 times better results immediately. And now chaining tools together is a really interesting way of working that has really leveled me up in the last couple of months as well. So for the first half of the year, I was basically using GPT Plus to generate code, and I was architecting and then sort of copying the code and putting it into my IDE and then uploading it and making changes. And that already saved me what I would do in a week, I could do in a day. What I do in a month, I could do in a week. But I've hit the next level by chaining tools together. And what I mean by that is, so right now in development, I'm using a tool called Cursor as my IDE. And it's already strong prompt enough that you could start from scratch and say, develop me a web page or a web app, and then describe how you want it, columns and what it wants to look like and what code and all that you want. And it could generate it. But you can level up by using a GPT to optimize the prompt for you. And so now what I do, and especially to keep my GPT Plus's ego in check as well, and to make it feel still involved, uh, I say, ChatGPT, please act as my CTO. We're going to create a new project in Cursor, or we're going to edit an existing one. I want you as my CTO to prompt Cursor to be able to develop what we're looking to do. And because GPT has the context of everything we've ever worked on and planned together over the last couple of years as well. It knows the projects, the ambitions, the tone, the style, and all of that. It's able to optimize the prompt of what I'm looking for in a way that computer to computer is going to be airtight. And what this has allowed me to do is now I can knock off world-class production-ready apps in a matter of minutes. Not hours, not days for sure, in minutes, to the point I'm bored with programming again because my job is pasting prompts into Cursor and then Cursor just double checking that I want to. So I just press run, keep all, run, keep all, save the file, refresh the page, and incredibly complex changes can be done in seconds. And Cursor is very friendly and polite. You can change the LLM in Cursor as well. I'm not even sure what I'm using at the moment. I think it could be Llama. I don't know. Um, but it's whatever's the back end of that is doing a brilliant job. And it's now, my output is incredible. Um, you could also, prompting is thinking in dialogue. You can use loops, draft, critique, improve, step by step, add constraints, tone, audience, length. And then when you get a plan or content or a PDF or some sort of output, you could then start another thread and ask the AI to critique its last answer or the document it's created, or saying, you are a venture capitalist. I want you to review this strategy or this plan and give me invaluable feedback, or whoever you want the source of it to be. And then you get this richer feedback where it's saying, oh, that's mostly good, but you could tweak it in this way. And by iterating it, the quality of our output, again, improves exponentially. You can use GPT for planning, say Cursor for building, Runway for visuals, chain your tools. You are the conductor. And we're back to this again, this robots and animals theme that has been persistent with me the last few years, man and machine, robots and animals, woman and machine as well. The future isn't man versus machine, it's man amplified by machine. And at the AI Super Agency, we're aiming to keep humans in the loop and benefits in the community. We're not looking to replace human jobs or human participation. We're looking for this collaboration of humans and AI to even increase more opportunities and a healthier work-life balance for more humans. And technology should serve creativity, not consume it. Nepal can be a model for ethical, community-owned AI. You can publish local data sets, pilot projects, and help build this ecosystem. And together, all of us can make From Kathmandu to the World not just a slogan, but a reality. So thank you, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big thing. I think C has wrapped up the session from his side, and me personally, I'm from the non-tech side, so I think it was quite a good insight for me as well to know what is happening. And for me, the thing I only know about AI is ChatGPT and Gemini. It's the only AI I have been using for my daily purpose. So I think the things you are saying and in the purpose of Nepal as well, I think if we can utilize the gap we have currently, I think Nepal could do much more. So I'll open the floor to all our audiences who might have some questions. If not, I think they do have some questions. I can see some of it in chat as well. So just before they collect their thoughts and ask the question, one question from my side personally, I'd like to ask that, when you were building an AI-led startup, what's the lesson you learned, in the very early stage that you felt like, oh, okay, this is the gap, or when you felt like, okay, people are ahead of me. That thing that you felt, I want to listen because we always find the gap and we always find ourselves in a situation when we are in the middle of the project. So, what do you find in the early stage?
Sorry, you cut out a bit. The connection's a bit warbly. Can you just repeat the impetus of that question? To find the gap, the lessons.
Yes. So, my question was that when you started your AI startup, what was the first lesson, or what was the thing in the early stage you found? Either it was a gap, or it was like, the idea you had was already innovated by someone else, or you could actually exploit the gap. So that was my question.
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. So I think the gap was that there were all these tools and they weren't really unified. And then, especially a lot of you, it's very expensive to have 100 different subscriptions as well. And so using the free versions maybe wasn't as deep enough for a lot of what I was trying to do. And then I do stuff in a really, I guess for me, it's like a different sort of way. And I wanted to be able to sort of build something where with one logon, you have access to a lot of these different things instead of trying to log on to different things. Um, the other thing was that I was under so much demand from friends and from potential clients, and then projects I've got, say, in Africa as well, where people needed help, and there was no bandwidth to be able to help everybody. And I felt really overwhelmed with that despite all these tools that were here, I barely had time to be able to help myself and the things that I was working on myself. And then a new friend would say, oh, I need this. And then the project in Malawi is like, we need to fundraise, we need to build schools for orphans and things. And so I felt there's got to be a way to be able to help more people. I know it's not like so investor friendly to say your target market is everybody because everybody needs help or something like that. But there was something within my intuition about a year ago thinking, I think technology is nearly there to be able to set up systems that could be human centered and people first, not necessarily business first or corporation, but like human first to be able to help people with whatever they needed assistance with, whether that was a business or a community project or something. And also simplifying these tools because most people aren't that technologically competent as well. And so it had to be really, really simplified to which also by having one app and one logon makes it a lot easier that people are familiar with the UI, the UX, and then having that sort of helper, that virtual friend along the way.
And I think that was one of the very unique answers I found, because whenever I ask the entrepreneurs, whenever they start, they would say like, I didn't find any trouble in the early stages. I always find problems and gaps during the project. They never find any kind of gaps because they have the vision and everything. So they go with the business, so they don't think there is any kind of gap in the early stages. So I think, yeah, that was a kind of new perspective I found from your side. So I do am opening floor for the people, our audience, to drop the question in the chat box. So the chat box is on for all. So you can drop down the questions if you have any questions in the chat box. The chat box is open, and she is here to answer your questions as well. Um, none of your camera is on. None of us know you guys, so you don't have to be shy. We won't be judging you for any of the questions, so you can feel free to drop your questions as well. So I think I will initiate one questions from their side as well. So as we also discussed earlier that Nepal has just like given the very tiny bit of we have explored AI. So, what would be your advice for us or for the students or very new young innovators who are taking the very first step in AI and they want to build something in AI? What would be your suggestion for them?
So I love experimentation with a lot of these things. I think first is try and see what's out there and try a bunch of different tools. Um, because once we find one with which we relate and the UI that we like, and I think that opens up some added inspiration that it's like, wow, this helps me more efficient or productive in this way, which then we can go down a rabbit hole in that direction as well. Um, and I guess there's a few different approaches as well. Sometimes we have an objective that's quite clear and we know we want to accomplish something in particular. And then I think maybe that's a little bit easier when you know the objective. Okay, so what are the steps that I need to get there? Work backward from the objective and then fill in the gap. And now you could just ask GPT, this is what I'm trying to do. What are the steps? Propose me an action plan or something. Um, and the other thing is when we don't really know what to do, I think, and that was a big impetus for starting the super agency too. I mean, a lot of people that don't know what they really want to get from it or do, but they have ideas. And I think with all of these, use the tools that are there to help sculpt your idea and your plan. And then so open up a DeepSeek or a ChatGPT or Gemini, whatever you like, and say, I have an idea, or this is my idea, but I'm not sure how to go about it. I don't know what skills I need or what resources or where I should start. Please suggest an action plan or ask me all the questions you need to know about what I want to do, and then maybe give that to me as a starting point. And then from there, and I think that I find that quite inspiring as well. It comes back to that interview thing. If we don't know what we want to do, when we're interviewed, we've got to come up with answers to it. So I think that that's a useful start as well. And then other than that, just keep trying. You'll find things that you like, you'll find things you don't like, and then maybe through that you find a gap in something and say, wow, there's no solutions doing what I'm really trying to do. That create an opportunity to at least to mock something up. And with the tools now too, you can have an idea and you could use something like lovable.dev, or if you don't know Lovable, Lovable is the fastest growing SaaS startup of all time. And it was just like a solo founder, I think young man, developed this text to develop anything app. Um, so lovable.dev, and literally you write a prompt and it will spit you out an app in minutes as well, like that. And then there's a whole bunch of other things like that. But you can get an idea, mock up, see what your idea looks like within minutes or hours, and then look at it and then start again. But yeah, use GPTs for guiding you. Some people will sketch things out on paper in notebooks, like I'm always writing in notebooks and drawing stuff. And then from there, I try to translate it, saying, okay, this is what I've come up with. What do you think about it? And then GPTs are very good at spotting holes in the idea, or saying, okay, you need to look at this, you need to look at that.
I think all the audience, if you are doing any kind of project, then you definitely should use all those AI tools that are currently used to explore and find your ideas. So we do have some questions in the chat box. Can you please read that? So, Mr. Kanis, and Anu has asked questions, so maybe you should answer them.
Should I read it? Are you going to read it?
So I'll read it for you. This,
Can you?
Denise has asked to drop some ideas from your side, which would be help. So, can you please suggest some of the best advanced prompting idea on building problem-solving model and chatbots? So I think he's asking for prompt ideas.
And this is the easy cop out here, but it's like I can think of a few, but you will get a better answer asking ChatGPT or DeepSeek that as well. I think that's where the tools are right there. Um, and again, if you've got something in mind, get it to tell it what you know about the idea and then let it interview you as well. Like what sort of chatbot, what sort of problem solving models, that sort of thing like that. Only you know the depth of your idea and what direction you want to put in as well. Um, so I would say that the best advanced prompting idea would be uh, ask it, ask the LLM. And if you don't like the answer you got from one, ask it to
Like,
be a different style or try a different LLM. And be more specific, like for things like chatbots. Do you mean WhatsApp? Do you mean um, other platforms that are allowed in Nepal as well? Not Telegram, I think. Um, Website chatbots are fantastic as well. So I'm sorry if that was a boring answer, but I think that's you'll get a much better response from that than I could give you.
So I think we can jump to the next question. So this is a question from I think one of our young builder. So she's saying that this is a question from Anu. So she's saying that they are building PayPal support agent right now using RAG and MCP2, and this is their first time building. So she's asking for suggestions for the beginners.
Yeah, so when we're building anything, we've got to be very careful that the code is safe and secure. And now we have the
yeah,
tools at our disposal for best practice. So I would say your first time building it, so clearly you've started already. And then when you have a code base, I would paste in that code into a separate thread. So this is another tip as well if people aren't aware of this. But when LLMs so-called hallucinate, and they give us wrong answers or inconsistent answers or forget things earlier in the thread. Uh, that's because they've run out of memory generally. So when you have a really long thread, it's going to struggle with remembering every single thing you said in that thread. So for an optimization hack, I go very specific in one thread and say, this is what we're trying to solve in this thread, and then have that conversation of that thread very specific to that. But especially when we're working with code, threads can get super long super quickly. And then that's where I've noticed personally problems can happen. And then you start getting wrong code and wrong fixes, and it forgets what our objectives are and things like that as well. So the first thing is if you're using, say, whatever tool you're using, just remember that the length of the thread will affect also the cost of the tokens and the transactions as well. The longer thread you press submit, that's going to be even more expensive. Than the answer comes back, that's going to be more expensive. You could even edit the second response that it gives you all the time, because then it's always only going to be 2 or 3 posts in the thread, and that's the tokens that are going to be sent through. So that's the first thing, is just make sure that to optimize whatever platform you're using, that context is kept as minimal as possible for its memory, to be very clear with your prompts so it truly understands. If you're vague at all, it can go in different directions. And then also audit each of your files of code, paste it, uh, paste it into another thread saying, please audit my code for security, or just analyze it and tell me what you've learned from it. And and please comment what I have to do to make it industry standard or best in class or world class or whatever like that. And then you'll get tips and you reiterate like that as well. So yeah, keep the context as sharpened as you can from thread to thread and topic to topic. And then when you're generating code, especially before you put it online, use the same tool to audit your code and before you put it online. If you use something like Cursor, Cursor is fantastic. People were telling me about it all year, but I would say try using something like Cursor that you open your folder, it immediately has context of everything that you're working in that project. And then when you want to make changes, it finds it, it understands, it can re-architecture everything. And so something that you're hacking together as a beginner, congratulations, by the way, getting out your first apps and your first sites, but very quickly using a GPT to prompt and or something like Cursor, you can help make sure that the security hardening is fine. It finds the bugs. It can even test stuff before we even need to test it. You can run tests through something like Cursor where it's testing every single thing. And then when it finds a security vulnerability, it patches it. And then you just click run or keep all changes, and then you test it. So I think you can go from beginner to expert pretty quickly. And also appreciate that there's going to be challenges, there's going to be frustrations. That's how we learn. And we need to fail a lot with programming to be able to learn and understand better. That's how we learn. And we need to.
I think Anu, the one who was asking the question said, yes, we are using Cursor. And Saram has just asked that is Cursor alternative for VS Code? Will that be working as an alternative?
I think Cursor, an alternative of it, yeah. VS Code, I think when you use its new AI capabilities, is quite expensive. I think for you, whatever your chosen platform is. So I have big data or bigger companies that I like using their software, and there are companies I'm not going to use their LLM or their IDs or things like that. So as an alternative, it's sort of yeah, it's an extended version of VS Code, and to me, I think it's more usable than VS Code. So it comes down to your preferences for user experience and user interface. So I preferred it over using VS Code for sure, but it's sort of same. And you're already
So I
using
think
Cursor. That's excellent.
yeah, I think people are, they are kind of, I feel like they're kind of shy to ask the question directly. So they are just replying to chats altogether.
That's great. Conversations are starting in here, and just yeah.
Yeah, the conversation is going on in chats, but they are not directly asking you the question. So I think also if you have any questions, we are still opening the floor, and I think it's 5. So if you have any questions, otherwise maybe we can wrap it up. Do you have anything else to say? Share with us. See. I think Miss Karma, your mic is on. Can you please mute yourself?
That's great. Conversations are starting. It sounds like the replay of the video from 2 minutes ago.
Okay. Okay. So I think Sarah is just asking, is all network on net worth?
I think that's a tongue twister. I don't know if that's it's all network and net worth. I've never heard this one before. No, no, all network and net worth are not the same. So I'm reading off. Like I had to look that up. I thought, is this like a poem or something? All network typically refers to a collection of interconnected systems or entities, while net worth is the total value of an individual's or entity's assets minus liabilities. But interesting question. Anything to leave people like there's such an opportunity here. It doesn't matter where in the world we are or what say our privilege is or what our access to well our access to resources now are more I think unified than ever. We all have access to these powerful tools. It's now how do we harness our imagination and put in the time and effort and hard work to get the most out of them. But I believe irrespective from where we are in the world, we now have an opportunity to create something that's like if you wish to be big and useful on the global scale, that's going to be a lot of work. But now you've got the tools to figure out how to get there. But most importantly, look around in your communities and in your household and in your your day-to-day life, and just believe that you have the tools in your power now to be able to solve just about anything. And if you're not sure how to, you now have places that you can ask and say, give me an action plan. I don't know how to solve this, but I want to. Give me some options. Not just one thing, but give me some options to consider for how to solve this problem. And then one of them might resonate. You might go in that direction down the rabbit hole. But I think Nepal's in a wonderful position to be able to really revolutionize with this technology and really transform the country through this digital opportunity.
Yeah, I think because all this in Nepal previously, even though there was Zoom, Google, Meet and everything, we never used those platforms. I think it was, even though it was a bad phase, but due to the COVID and pandemic phase, we, being in Nepal, I think because of that phase, we are more into technology and everything. And people are now just getting into Web3. So I think that phase actually did a pretty job for us to get into technology. So yeah, I think I was just gonna say. So okay, we do have another question from Busy. So he's saying that he's curious since AI models don't always behave. I'm so sorry, I'm not able to read this deterministically. So, okay, so since
Perfect.
AI models always behave deterministically, how do developers approach testing in AI system? Is it crucial as in normal software development?
That's a pretty deep question. I guess that depends on the developer, right? And then the testing methodology. Is it as crucial as a normal software development? Yeah, probably. Because we also, normal software development, we're generally, and I guess by normal, that means human. So normally we would have our checks and balances and we would read over the code. And depending if we're a team or an agency, there might be another set of eyes over it or collaboration on a GitHub or something like that as well. But because we can't we can't 100% rely on the output of AI. I think there's got to be a little more scrutiny. And also just think like if we're posting things, it's generated on our behalf or coding things on our behalf and we're putting it into place, there's also a personal liability, I think, or a company liability. So I think there's got to be that extra level of scrutiny and deeper testing because the power of this technology, especially when we're running autonomous agents, say, and supervisors and things acting on our behalf, um, we have to be a lot more careful of what might be the ramifications of that as well. So I would say, yep, you've got all. If you're programming something that takes a month and you're doing it in a matter of days, or something that would take weeks and you're doing it in a matter of minutes, then you have this extra time to test it more thoroughly, right? So I think, yeah, if it's crucial, I would say it's probably more crucial. And then when we get onto decentralized tech, I think that's even more crucial as well, because that can be a little harder.
So I hope Busy got his answer from C. So we are running kind of quite in a tight time. So do we have any last question? We will taking any last questions if we have any. So, like Bihar is right just in the corner in the Bawali. And also, even in our office, everyone is getting ready. So if you hear some noises, I'm really sorry for the noises. So I think we don't have any more questions. So as C has also dropped his LinkedIn, and you can also always check out and these as well. And I think just by typing his name, you can find him in LinkedIn as well. So you can connect him there as well. And you can ask him any questions if you have and take suggestion. He's giving free suggestions and very good, amazing suggestions. So maybe you can use him as a good resource as well.
I'm answering one
Okay,
question in the
so
chat there. Thank you for having
yeah,
me. It's a real pleasure to reconnect with Satya and Rumsan again.
thank you so much. It was also pleasure. I was actually kind of searching, yeah, it has been such a hot topic recently. So I wanted to do Meetup in this talk for such a long time, but I was actually kind of searching for things, but and I just got a session. Yeah, he has done a session with us previously in the robotics as well, so maybe you can use it. So fortunately, we're also in Nepal. I really hope your stay in Nepal goes very well. And when are you flying again back?
Well, because we threw these festivals a couple of years ago, and I've met all these amazing Nepali friends and crew, everyone's asking me, "Oh, when are we going to do the next event? Where are we going to do the next festival?" So you're some of the first people to publicly hear this, but it sounds like we'll be back next November. There'll be some sort of thing like a robots and animals, like an arts tech, but something new, and a lot more AI focused. And there'll also be some chill out thing, probably at Begness Lake in November as well. So you heard it first, probably. It feels like that's what's brewing, and maybe even later in season time, like by the end of the winter, I might pop back. So I'm looking forward to coming back. My fifth time here. Beautiful country, beautiful people, and it's always a pleasure to spend time here.
I hope your stay and your upcoming future plans will go well. So yeah, I think that's it from both sea side and our side. That was it. I really hope this session was insightful for young people, audience, all the young peoples out there, young innovators. And you can also search C in LinkedIn and connect with him. Also, if you have any other questions or you want to know more about hot topics and you want to explore it, you can please email us or you can just go to our LinkedIn and drop a message. So yeah, that's it from our side, and that's a wrap up of our Meetup 50. Thank you once again so much, Steve, for having us share your insights, and thank you so much to all the audience for your time. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Also, happy PR to everyone. Bye bye. Hope you have a good evening. Bye bye.